Magandang araw sa inyong lahat. First, I want to say thank you for your response to my first, what do you call it, after class session. Inspired ako. Heartwarming pa yung mga comments nyo. And I especially like to hear from my former students how sweet of you, how nice your comments were. I love you all. Well, I love everybody, and I hope you continue with me. Now we're going to talk about corruption, and I'll tell you why. Because the answer to a lot of your questions has something to do with corruption kasi you will see as we go along. I hope to be able to answer your questions. Minsan naman napaka-tough ng questions nyo. But I will try. In other words, I'll do what I can. Okay? I will really try to answer your questions. So now we're going to talk about corruption. In this episode, we are going to put corruption under a microscope. We're going to define it, we're going to measure it, we're going to unbundle it, and we're going to find out what its effects are on a country's growth and development. All that based on evidence, research, studies, etc. And then we will focus on the Philippines. We will find out from the available data and expert assessment the magnitude of Philippine corruption, whether it's increasing or decreasing, and then how we, the Filipino people, regard the problem of corruption. All the while, we're also comparing ourselves with other countries, specifically Thailand, Indonesia, and Vietnam, to see whether we are doing better or worse than they are doing fighting corruption. Understand ha, mga kapatid, mga anak, mga apo, corruption is a worldwide phenomenon. No country is free from it. So let's start. What is corruption? There are many definitions of corruption, but the easiest to remember and the most to the point is this: corruption is the abuse or misuse of a position of power for personal gain. But for the purpose of this discussion, we shall limit ourselves to public sector corruption only. Second, there are many ways to classify the corruption that takes place. You can classify according to who is involved. Mga elitista ba? Mga hindi elitista? Or you can classify according to how it is done. Paano nangyayari yan? Kung talagang outright theft yan, ba? O embezzlement, o baka merong exchange that takes place. And then we can also classify according to the type or object of transaction. Halimbawa, ayan ba kontrata ba yan? O government benefit ba yan? Subsidies ba yan? Ganon. Tapos you can also classify corruption according to the number of bribers and the number of recipients. Halimbawa, kung marami ang briber mo at saka kukonti ang recipients nyo, ayun ang tinatawag nating kleptocracy. Ngayon, the least dangerous of those numbers of bribers and recipients are if there are many bribers and many recipients, many bribers and many recipients, kasi parang may competition. So the price of corruption gets less. Okay? So, and then the third, there are many measures of corruption. For example, you have the Corruption Perception Index by the Transparency International, or the Control of Corruption Index by the World Bank Worldwide Indicators of Governance. And then there's the Political Corruption Index. That's just to name a few. Now, what is the effect of corruption on a country? That is the fourth. You know, I Googled how many studies on corruption there are. There are apparently over 3,000 studies all over the world. And there is general agreement among the researchers that the costs of corruption are so much greater than whatever benefits you can find from corruption. But the constructors of these indices will themselves tell you what the weaknesses of their indices are. And there are many weaknesses, mainly because it's very difficult to measure corruption, hindi ba? Kasi patago yan eh. All right. So, if corruption is all over the world, it's difficult to measure it. Why have this conversation about corruption at all? Acceptin na lang natin. Hindi ako papayag dyan. Because there are costs to corruption. The greater the corruption, the greater the costs. What are these costs? Well, those are 3,000 studies, and you can imagine how many costs they have determined. But the biggest, the greatest costs, the greatest negative effect of corruption is on the growth and development of the country. There is a negative relationship between the scale of corruption and the GDP growth of the country. With higher corruption, they say, adversely affects key social indicators. These now have to do with development, such as child mortality rates, income inequality, education completion rates, poverty. More corruption, more poverty. Another deep cost of corruption is that it retards the emergence of strong institutions over time. And this is very important because the weaker the institution is, the greater the corruption that occurs. So it's a parang catch-22 situation. And then other studies show that corruption undermines national efforts to control disease, that is health, to confront the drug trade, and to ensure transport safety, etc. And we can see, especially in the Philippines, about drug trade. Turns out that government officials are involved in the drug trade. So how can we possibly stop the drug trade? Ang dami pa na lang sinasabi about the cause of corruption. It acts as to discourage foreign direct investment. It reduces private investment. We see that ourselves in the small and business industries. Hirap na hirap sila mag-start ng kanilang business kasi ang dami-daming mga requisitos, ang dami-daming mga lagay na kailangan, hindi ba? It attracts talented people to unproductive activities. For example, rather than go into something productive like manufacturing, going into business by yourselves, some people go into politics because they get more money there. Isn't that obvious? Corruption distorts the optimal management of natural resources. Nakikita naman natin sa logging natin, sa mga mining, any use of the natural resources. You have to get licenses, permits, etc. Corruption gets involved and it distorts the management of those optimal resources. That is very, very clear in the studies. And finally, the fact is that corruption, the effects of corruption, are disproportionately felt by the poor. Does that convince you that we should not have so much corruption in the Philippines? Okay, now let's focus on the Philippines.